that are here today. I can't even imagine your pain and your loss. Administrator Dixon, from the emails released to the committee in October, it is clear that Boeing did not want to disclose the MCAS in the Flight Crew Operations Manual, FCOM, an aircraft training manual for pilots. Boeing minimized or hid the true power of the MCAS system, convincing the FAA to delete mention of it in the FCOM, and therefore hiding its existence from the Flight Standardization Board. What do you plan to do within the FAA to ensure and change this dynamic? And two, how will you ensure that the FAA and not Boeing or some other manufacturer is determining what is and is not appropriate for pilots to know about what's on their airplanes?
Thank you for the question. This gets back to the issue that was identified both through the interviews and emails that you spoke about and by the Joint Authorities Technical Review, is that this design change was not communicated to the FAA, the folks who needed to make the decision on the aircraft evaluation group. I believe that there were some communications perhaps to our flight test group or within the engineering circles, but they didn't make it, so that we had issues both within the agency and...
Mr. Dixon, we could spend all day talking about what transpired, but the question is, what do you plan to do to change this dynamic so it doesn't continue to happen again?
So improve our project management to make sure that the team is staying together as a cohesive team, so they're all hearing things at the same time, no matter what phase of the project that we're in, and everybody understands what the implementation, what the implications of design changes may be. Also putting gates into the process to make sure that we have checkpoints going, because you've got a bunch of parallel processes going on at the same time. From time to time, we need to loop back and make sure that these systems interact correctly. Increased use of system safety assessments, as we talked about earlier. And then finally, would like to work with the Congress on implementing safety management systems for manufacturers, which will, again, facilitate even better information flow between the applicant and the agency.
And does that address the issue of having the FAA be in the driver's seat of making the determinations, not the manufacturers?
Yes, we make those determinations now, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you. Administrator Dixon, I would also like to get your thoughts on the recent testimony from the National Transportation Safety Board Chairman, Robert Sumwalt, where he highlights the positive benefits of safety management systems. Given your experience in the aviation sector, do you agree with the chairman's perspective that safety management systems improve safety?
I've spoken with Chairman Sumwalt about this, and we've had dialogue on their recommendations and on SMS, and I'm a huge proponent of SMS. I believe it's been very beneficial in the airline industry, in the commercial aviation industry, and it should be applied in this environment as well.
Do you have personal experience with the SMS system during your time at Delta?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you think adoption of the SMS system for manufacturers with the FAA oversight would provide similar benefits?
Yes. In multiple ways. It provides the ability for, again, a systematic way for the regulator to get higher fidelity data, more in real time from the manufacturing process. It also creates more fluid communication, both within the agency for folks to raise concerns and for them to be processed and for us to go back to the workforce. But it requires the participation of labor and also the agency and also the manufacturer to be able to make it work effectively.
Thank you. You know, I've heard a lot of issues and suggestions raised by my colleagues today. The hotline that was suggested, a number of other things. As a second-term member of Congress, I always wonder, when do we find out if all those items were implemented? When will you report back to us after this hearing to go over that list of issues that were discussed today to share with us when they have been implemented or will be implemented in terms of a time frame?
I will work with the chairman and the ranking member to put a timeline on those things. Some of what we've talked about we're already doing, and we've incorporated some of the lessons learned from the MAX return to service process. We will apply those immediately going forward. We're looking, as an example, at some of the lessons that we've learned from the TAB process and bringing them into our certification activities going forward. So it sort of depends on the topic that you're talking about, but I'm happy to work with.
Thank you. I'm out of time. I would appreciate getting that information. Mr. Chair, I yield back.